A math association, people actually committed to the teaching of math, says we need critical race theory to fight bias in mathematics. Well, maybe critical race wankers need the precision of mathematical reasoning to realize that the garbage they're peddling is nothing more than racism itself. Ever think of that, math geeks? I'm Dr. Duke, she's Katie, and you ratio that out, my math nerds. Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Dr. Duke Show, the only program that keeps you educated on the craziness of back to K-12 classrooms and college campuses around the world. Today, we start with some serious stupidity, where you have math professors all ganging up together. Well, I take that back. Not math professors, math association, a group of mathematically literate people, talking about how much racial justice education is needed when you're working that Pythagorean theory. When you're calculating pi down to the 700th digit, you really need a lecture in racial harmony.
Wow. Okay.
Wow.
The English guy is going to attack the math nerds. Get ready. Best fight ever. The Mathematical Association of America has released a statement. Woohoo! And they are pushing back against, of course, President Donald Trump's recent executive order to curtail the teaching of that critical race theory. We talked about this on the show before as being a good thing, that the president is saying, hey, maybe we should actually teach the subjects that we're there to teach.
Let math be math. Free math.
Free math.
Free math from the tyranny of critical race theory.
Well, they're arguing, the Math Association is arguing that mathematics contains human biases and it can only be corrected by promoting critical race theory. Really? I thought math is math is math and is math.
Unless you can take critical race theory and put it in a mathematical formula somehow, it doesn't belong in math.
Well, here's what the math nerds had to say using words, not symbols.
See, now, this is why it's not the English professor meddling. Notice the stupid part of this is when the math geeks want to incorporate words.
Ooh.
And I'm going to defend my English turf. You heard of the Jets and the Sharks?
Yeah.
The Shakespeares and the Pythagorases.
Let's leave it to them. Okay, according to the statement, it reads, it's time for all members of our profession to acknowledge that mathematics is created by humans. And therefore inherently carries human biases. Until this occurs, our community and our students cannot reach full potential. Reaching this potential in mathematics relies upon the academy and higher education engaging in critical, challenging, sometimes uncomfortable conversations about the detrimental effects of race and racism on our community. The time is now to move mathematics and education forward in pursuit of justice.
You know, automobiles are things that are we must acknowledge that automobiles are things that are created by human beings and therefore are completely complicit in the racial biases of human. We must admit that ventilators in this COVID pandemic are built by human beings and therefore are complicit in. We must recognize that blenders are created by human beings, and therefore we must deracify the blender world. Shut up with your stupid false equations and your non sequiturs.
This is the English professor. Shut up.
Just shut your... how about this?
Shut your pie hole. I knew you were doing it.
At the exact same time we got that, right? Shut your P.I. hole, baby, because what you're doing here is you're cravenly trying to find a reason to back off math enough that you can use math as one more tool to lecture kids about race. I'm not buying it. No one else is buying it. And Donald Trump is exactly right to try to prohibit you morons from co-opting yet another completely a-racial subject like math and turning it into a football field where you can tackle everybody you want for not being the people you want them to be.
Breitbart News actually reported back in August about how Harvard T.H. Chan School of Public Health promoted the claim that 2 + 2 = 5. We've been in this crazy upside-down world of math not being math because of social justice and everything else. And they had said at the time that the equation is used by postmodern theorists to promote the notion that the Western notion of objectivity has been tainted by racism and discrimination. Statements like 2 + 2 = 4 are abstractions. What that means is they're generalizations of something. You should always think of these statements as associated with an underlying reality. A Harvard researcher wrote.
An underlying reality. You're telling us, Harvard guy, that math is an abstraction with no basis in reality, says the underlying reality. I got it. Hold on a second.
Whoop.
The Harvard guy just said that math isn't real. It's an abstraction. And it's not just 2 + 2 = 4. Math is an abstraction. It's not based in reality. The underlying reality that's true about math, the only thing that's true about math that's real, is the fact that it's racist. Is that what I just heard?
And discrimination. Yes.
Racist and discriminatory.
Yep.
That's where we are in 2020, ladies and gentlemen. And can you anybody give me a single example of how math, we're going to use the British pronunciation, maths. Don't know why that is.
Yeah, they do maths.
Maths. Can somebody in the UK help me with that? I guess what they would say is, well, but Dr. Poster, you've got algebra, and you've got trigonometry, and you've got geometry.
You're trying to be posh English
being
over
a little
here?
Scottish now.
You're something. I don't know.
Anyway, math. Give me
Not the
one
Cockneys
living
guy.
example about how math itself is racist. Even if you want to argue everybody who does math is racist, or at least all the white people, and this is what it comes down to. Too much of math was invented in the West. That's what this is. Too much of math was invented by white people. That's all. And simply because that's who did the inventing, we have to see it as suspicious.
Well, don't you worry, because I just typed in math is racist, and my first hit, the #1, is Math is Racist, How Data is Driving Inequality by CNN Business from 2016.
All right, now data is a different thing, right?
Well.
Data is misusing math. I think what they're trying to say is, right, people have used statistics to represent all kinds of things.
Well, according to our Harvard researcher, he says, as a data analyst, I love numbers, but it's my job to connect them to reality.
What is it? Wait, so math is, so again, my choice about how I use those numbers is realer than the numbers themselves. Are you kidding me? At least don't be such flaming hypocrites. If math is only an abstraction, then your opinion, how you choose to use math, is not reality, you moron.
Well, we know that math has been racist. As I just pointed out before, there was 2016, we already knew math was racist, but it's been racist for even longer than that. Let's be real. So Wake Forest University, though, now is finally gotten woke to it. Did you get that?
Well done, Katie.
Thank you. The Old Gold and Black, the school newspaper, actually wrote an article called Anti-Racism Comes to the Math Classroom. And so they explained how there's a new one-credit course offered at the Wake Forest University, and it's in the Department of Mathematics and Statistics, and the students, they're going to learn about the many ways in which mathematical and statistical models have been employed to, foment racism.
Do you understand what they're doing here? They've created a non-mathematics course to lecture kids about this. This is the same thing. This is like saying, taking kids in elementary school and teaching them their ABCs, right? You got the little strip banner on the top of the chalkboard, and the kids are learning their ABCs. That would be like stopping once a week and giving the kids a 1-hour lecture on how people take language to say racist things. Yeah. It's not the fault of language that people misuse it. It's not the fault of math that some morons try to misuse it. Math, the sociology of math is not math.
Well, you can take department chair Sarah Rayner's course called Racist/Anti-Racist Uses of Math and Stats. Sarah Rayner, again, department chair, is the one teaching this. And she says that this course deals with biases in math and statistics that ultimately result in racist policies, such as over-policing in majority-minority areas to practices in hiring.
Now, wait a second. I want you to understand, this is turning out to be a really good show, simply because I think we're talking about this stuff in ways that I have not heard anybody anywhere talk about them. Classic example of what she says, that math is misused to over-police black neighborhoods. You want to know why that is? Because the math shows that in largely minority inner-city communities, more crime is committed. That, according to her, is a misuse of math. The fact that in places like Chicago, blacks killing blacks is disproportionately high. So we can either admit that's true, that's math, or we can pretend that by mathematics proving that blacks are killing blacks at a high rate in Chicago, that's racist. Mm-hmm. What she's telling you is whenever mathematics proves that there's a problem with minority culture somewhere, that must be racist. It can't be math.
Well, and here's a tip-off, too. Just the fact that this class is being run as a discussion-based course using a textbook called Weapons of Math Destruction.
Right, which is a book.
Written by mathematician and Occupy Wall Street member Kathy
yes.
O'Neill. That should have tipped you off the fact that it was a discussion-based. All right, math nerds out there. Anyone who's been to college, you've had to be in a math class. Has it been discussion-based? Any math course, discussion-based. Also, if you're using the textbook Weapons of Math Destruction, I doubt it's like a math book, which is that thick. It's probably like,
well, that's why it's a 1 hour course.
one
right?
credit, yeah.
And it's insulting that if I were a math major, it would be insulting to me to have to learn. I mean, you could do this about engineering too. You know, engineering has been used to make guns that kill black people. Do you know that engineers, some thousands of years ago, created rope? And so all lynchings
This is true.
right? I mean, seriously, this is what they're doing now. And I'm dead serious about what I said before. Why then, and I shouldn't say it too loud because they're going to start doing it. The minute you learn the alphabet, you have to have a 1 hour module a week about how words, that letters can be turned into words that affect people, that are racist. Or when you start reading high school books, right? You must know that as we're reading literature texts in this book, some literature is racist. Right? And so therefore, literature itself is got a white supremacy policy. What this is completely overriding academic disciplines now. It is completely trivializing and non-entitizing things like math. You are delegitimizing math in the name of your really, really obsessive and childish and intellectually dishonest attempt to make everything about race.
Well, of course, and she doesn't care. She informed her colleagues that this course it's a response. Okay? She's using this one credit course as a response to the racism and bias to which so many are subjected on a daily basis, punishing bodies and minds through no fault of their own.
What does it have to do with math?
Like all entrenched systems, our department is not innocent of racism.
How?
Now we're talking politics within the department.
How?
The time has come. That's math. That's a math time. Has come for us to focus on fighting racism and making plans to create a more equitable educational
I want to
space.
hear from this drooling moron. I
assume she's
a little
drooling.
hung up on the word moron now.
Better be moron than moron.
I really can't use the... See, this is racist. The language I want to use to describe how moronic these people are, I can't use because of the FDA. Food Drug Administration? FCC. That's why. It's the Food and Drug Administration won't let me use the words I want to use. And so because I can't use the words I want to use, I have to default to words that are weak by comparison. But did you hear what she just said? She just said, we are not immune to this. We are math professors, therefore we are racist. Yes. So how? How are you? Maybe you're racist when you go to the grocery store. You don't say hi to the black cashier. Maybe you're racist because you're voting for Joe Biden. Maybe you're racist for a lot of reasons. But how are you racist when it comes to teaching math?
Who cares? They're just going to find out that they are racist, and they're launching a department-level now bias reporting system to help fight said racism. So we'll find out who's the racist and how they're the racist in the math department.
Already what's happening.
Wake Forest University.
African Americans generally score less on math tests than whites and Asians.
Okay.
And therefore, math is racist.
Well,
that's literally
that's
how far
what she's
goes.
going with.
That's exactly right. Until blacks score even or better than every other race, math will be racist.
All right. So we talked about the math nerds. Now it's time to harass your English nerds. And this one is going to be a doozy because Cornell University is just so woke. They're the wokest of the woke. And mostly it's their English department that's the wokest of the woke. The Cornell Daily Sun, which is the student newspaper there, has reported that the English department is changing its name to the Department of Literatures in English. Why? The director of undergraduate studies, Professor Kate McCullough, said, helping to eliminate the conflation of English as a language and English as a nationality. And so the department has approved this, and they're now waiting on the university's approval.
This is so Cornell.
It's so Cornell.
I mean, if it weren't for the fact that they gave us modern cabbage, we would be all about getting rid of the big red bobblehead bear, wouldn't we? Could we agree?
Yes.
I mean, let's see. And of all the Ivy League schools, isn't this like the one that kind of snuck in? Yeah. I mean, they have a weird name. No one's ever heard of them, and so they pass as an Ivy League school. I'm sure they're charging Ivy League Ivy League tuition. But Cornell is not an Ivy League school. Let me just say that right now. Second of all, Cornell. Do you really believe, English professors at Cornell, do you really seriously believe that we named English departments so that when we heard of them, we immediately thought of English people? Because that's what you just said, right? It's not the English. It's literatures in English is what you changed your name to. So if you feel better about that, go ahead. But by changing it to literatures in English, you're not really fixing anything. You're going to have to, based on your complaint, get rid of English altogether. Why not just call it literature, if that's what you're going to do? Because wouldn't that be more inclusive? What I don't get about these half-wit instructors at so-called Ivy League institutions is, why do you do these half measures? If English is what bothers you, then get rid of it. Calling them literatures in English, in some ways, is even worse.
Yes, it
because
is.
when it was just English, everybody understood that we're reading books in English because, you know, none of us can speak Turkish, right? That's why. That's why we did it. You have an organization on your campus at Cornell called Foreign Languages and Literatures. That, honey, is where they learn non-English reading book. That in comparative literature, which is associated with language departments, that's where they read literatures not in English. So you turn around and you make this huge crusading statement, and that statement is, we're getting rid of the English department and we're going to call it literatures in English. We're going to underscore the fact that we're actually prioritizing English white normative language. There you go.
All right. Well, this all started because the resurgence of the Black Lives Matter movement following George Floyd's death, and that's according to Professor Carol Boyce Davies, an English professor of English and Africana Studies. She's the one who actually was the original proposal writer. She's one of two, and as a result, the faculty felt this sense of obligation to fight for their own department to change the name.
This is just so woke.
According to Boyce Davies, faculty around the country, not just faculty of color, but faculty in general, began to look at the institution to see how we can help advance a discourse that challenges structural forms of racism, which get reproduced in students and in teaching over and over again.
Again, do you see what the point of this is? Structural racism.
Yes.
It's not about English. It's not about anybody being offended. It's my God, I guarantee you the English department at Cornell is primarily reading non-Western writers.
Well, yes, probably. Well, Boyce Davies and another faculty member named, I'm going to not get this name right, Mukoma Wao Ngugi, another professor, said they first approached all of the professors of color for support.
Of course they did.
They all got together. So
how democratic.
Yes, and then they went to the whites.
Then they went to a bunch of guilty white liberals and say, we three black professors out of a faculty of 100, we've decided that 97 of you are racist. What are you going to do about that?
And Boyce...
Mea culpa, mea culpa, mea maxi culpa, mea culpa, right?
Boyce Davies said, what surprised us was the fact that so many of the white faculty of the English department signed on. We were amazed. Well, by the time we were ready to officially take it to the department as a whole, we had over 75% of the faculty signed on. I'm just going to put it out there. You're in the minority on this one.
Just 75%?
Over.
You got some serious woking to do.
But that math might not be right because math is racist.
It is racist. You know, I think about that great song from Sting and the Police. This is where we are in English studies. Da-do-do-da, da-do-do-do, da-do-do-da is all I want to say with you. Poets, priests, and politicians have words to thank for their positions, and no one's jamming their transmissions. Words that scream for your submission. English departments, I'm done with you. I just want to be able to say to anybody, Katie, da-do-do-do, da-da-da-da.
It's time for some real education. In Turkish, Pamukkale means cotton castle, a natural site in Denizli in southwestern Turkey. The area is famous for a breathtaking carbonate mineral left by the flowing of thermal spring water. It's located in Turkey's inner Aegean region in the river Menderes Valley, which has a temperate climate for most of the year.
Just take a look at what she's talking about. Words do not do it justice. Gorgeous, right? This crystal blue aqua water in these limestone reservoirs in the snow-covered area there. Just, man, what a great place to hop in for a cold swim, then get right into a hot sauna, or as the Icelandics would say, sauna. But this is a really interesting point. Just leave some of those pictures up there, Mike. The ancient Greco-Roman city of Hierapolis was built on top of these travertine formations, which in total total about 8,860 feet long, about 1,970 feet wide, and 525 feet high above the ground. They can be seen from the hills on the opposite side of the valley in the town of Denizli, 20 kilometers away. Known as Pamukkale, which is, you can see why they got the idea of Cotton Castle, or ancient Hierapolis, the holy city. This area has been drawing visitors to its thermal springs since the time of ancient Greece. The Turkish name refers to the surface of the shimmering snow-white limestone shaped over millennia by calcite-rich springs. Dripping slowly down the mountainside, mineral-rich waters collect in and cascade down the mineral terraces into these beautiful pools below. Legend has it that the formations are solidified cotton, the area's principal crop, that giants left out to dry, very Norse. Of course, now Turkey owns this area. People have visited the area for thousands of years due to the attraction of these thermal pools. As recently as the mid-20th century, hotels were built over the ruins of Hierapolis, causing considerable damage and to the pristine environmental areas as well. An approach road was built from the valley over the terraces, and motorbikes were allowed to go up and down the slopes. When the area was declared finally a World Heritage Site, the hotels were demolished and the road removed and replaced with artificial pools. There are well-preserved Roman ruins and a museum on the site. It would be a great vacation place if you're checking out parts of the Aegean and Turkey. Small footpath runs up the mountain face for visitors to use. However, the Travertine terraces are off limits, having suffered damage, erosion, and water pollution due to tourism. Still really gorgeous to see those things. And, you know, one of those things that if you know, that we go through our lives, we never realize they're there. Well, they are. They're there, and they're lovely.
All right, just as a reminder, these premier beverage vessels of freedom are now available when you join our Patriot Club with just one little time, a $99 tax-deductible donation. All you have to do to sign up is visit patriotclub.us. That's patriotclub.us. Now, we're going to wrap things up with the fun fact of the day. Since we're talking some math, parallel lines, they have so much in common. It's just a real shame that they'll never meet.
Bazinga. And that's going to do it for this show. For Freedom Project, I'm Dr. Duke. She's Katie. Until next time, stay corny, my friends.